This story took me 7 years to tell. Not because I was ashamed of it, not because I didn't think people would believe me, but because every time I sat down to start, I'd get to a specific detail, one particular thing I found inside that cabin, and I'd stop. I'd close the notebook. I'd convince myself it wasn't time yet. I don't fully know why today is different. Maybe I'm just tired of carrying it alone. My name is Silas. I spent the better part of a decade doing investigative fieldwork in remote terrain, tracking, environmental documentation, backcountry mapping, the kind of work that takes you deep into places most people never go, and keeps you there long enough that you start to read the land the way other people read rooms. You notice things. You file them. You don't panic easily, because panic is expensive when you're hours from the nearest road. I'm telling you that because I need you to understand. I am not someone who scares easily, and what I'm about to describe scared me so thoroughly that it changed the entire architecture of how I move through the world. 3 stories, 3 forests, one thread connecting all of them that I still don't have an explanation for. If you've hiked, camped, or spent any real time alone in remote wilderness, share this with someone who does the same, not to frighten them, just so they know what I know now. Let's start in the Unicoi Mountains, Cherokee National Forest. 7 years ago, the first thing I noticed was the smell. Not damp wood, not rot, something underneath those. Something I didn't have a name for yet, and wasn't sure I wanted one. I was already inside when I noticed it, already pressed against the interior wall, with my flashlight cutting across the room, already soaked through every layer I was wearing. The storm outside was hitting the metal roof, hard enough that individual drops were indistinguishable. It was just noise, constant, total, hammering. I had been in the Unicoi Mountains for 2 days when the weather turned. Not a passing system, a localized violent storm that came in fast from the west. And then, through the trees off to my left, I saw it, a structure, small, dark, partially swallowed by the tree line, man-made, unmistakably. I pushed the door open and went in. That's it. That's the decision that started everything. For the first few minutes, I wasn't curious. I was just grateful. But then, I started thinking about it. The chain anchor points were first. 2 of them, bolted into the wall at low height, roughly wrist level on a seated person. Then the hair tie, on the floor, black elastic. I picked it up. It stretched when I pulled it. Not brittle, not degraded. Emphasis, this hadn't. Then the wall near the fireplace. Words scratched into the wood. Not written. Scratched. I got close enough to read what was legible. Slowly, let me. Just those 2 words. Below that, a column of dates. The most recent one, 11 days prior. Then I crossed to the door. The bracket on the door frame was heavy duty, designed for a padlock. It was positioned on the exterior face of the frame. I looked at the interior face. Nothing. No handle. No bolt. The door could be secured from one side only. Emphasis, the outside. I stood in the open doorway with rain hitting my face, and I let that land. An enclosed space. Anchor points at wrist height. A door that only locks from outside. A window, I checked it, with screws driven into the frame from the exterior, and along the interior edge of that frame, deep lateral scratches that looked like someone had tried to work their fingers into the gap. This was not a storage cabin. I knew what this was. I closed the door. I sat back down against the wall. Here is where I did something that still bothers me when I think about it. I talked myself out of it. I told myself the dates were a hunter's record. The hair tie was old, just well preserved. The anchor points were for equipment, not people. I was alone in a violent storm, in a remote gorge, with frayed nerves and an overworked pattern recognition system. And I was building a crime scene out of an old logging shelter, because I was tired. I had been sitting there for maybe 20 minutes, when I felt it. Not a sound exactly. Pressure against the exterior wall to my left. Steady, then gone. The shadow crossed the window, left to right, unhurried, gone. Then, a sound I could not rationalize. Something metal, moving slowly, through the exterior bracket. Deliberate, sequential. The door shuttered once. A single, hard frame flex. And held. I was locked inside. I crouched down and looked at the base of the wall. It was a map, not a rough sketch. A constructed map, using specific shorthand. A system I developed through years of fieldwork. A system I have never written down, never taught, never shared. Someone had drawn me a map in my own handwriting style and placed it where I would only find it once I was already inside. That is the moment the window shattered. The incendiary device hit the interior wall. The room went from dark to orange in under 2 seconds. The kind of speed that only happens when the fuel is already there, already waiting. The walls had been treated. This had been prepared. The door held when I hit it. I did not hit it twice. I turned, identified the corner section I'd registered on arrival, the lower right wall where the foundation had settled, and I ran at it full speed. The wall came out. I went through it, hit the mud, and got up running. I was upright for approximately 4 seconds before something hit me from behind at full weight. It drove me back into the ground. The fight that followed is not something I can describe with any precision. I was burned, disoriented. I did not win it cleanly. I stopped losing it by using the terrain. I redirected his weight downhill. He went down on the rock. I got up, and I ran. The cabin behind me was fully lit. I could see the glow through the tree line, fading as the rain worked at it. I ran until I had nothing left. I found a limestone overhang, barely enough coverage. I lay in the mud and focused on breathing. My forearm was burned, the side of my neck. The pain arrived all at once, and it was significant. Investigators found the site. They confirmed the structure had burned. They found no personal items, no attacker, no evidence of occupancy beyond the burn itself. The case produced nothing. My wife knows I stopped doing solo trips after that year. She attributes it to maturity. Emphasis. I have never corrected her. The map on that wall, drawn in a notation system belonging to no one else on Earth. I have thought about it every day for 7 years. I still do not have an explanation